This is Columbus Percussion.
And this is Tony McClung. Today we've got a very, very special guest and friend of the store. This is Mr. Tony McClung. Been playing in town for years. He's a legendary player in town. Very prolific player. He recently ordered himself a new Gretsch Broadkaster kit, which we'll get to in a bit. Great musician. You're going to hear him play a little bit later on. He's an even better guy. Tony, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So how long have you been playing in town?
About 30 years, which is about the same length of time I've been shopping at Columbus Percussion.
What are some of the groups that you've played with?
The Hoodoo Soul Band, Pop Gun, Bird Shack. I spent 7 years in Bobby Floyd's band. Of course, Reggie Jackson does that now. And that's a whole thing about Columbus, as you know. Columbus is just lousy with great drummers. They're everywhere here, you know?
We have a lot of great guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are all current groups. Which one has been playing the longest?
Of the bands that I play in, the Hoodoo Soul Band has been together for actually 25 years, I think, as of this month from our first gig.
Yeah. What made you a musician?
I was always around music. My grandparents all played bluegrass. My uncle, who played with my grandparents, actually has played with every major bluegrass person there is. And I always loved that music. I suppose my rebellion was to play drums. And growing up in the early 70s, the stuff you heard on the radio, you know, all the pop stuff, Paul Simon and Stevie Wonder and, you know, Aretha Franklin and Yes, all on the same radio station. It was a good time to fall in love with music.
Who were some of your early influences to play drums?
I didn't really have any drummer influences for a long time. I started when I was really young. My stepfather had a drum set, and when nobody was home, I would just start playing it. And I didn't know much about drummers for probably the first 3 or 4 years that I played. Once I started to identify different drummers, John Bonham, Stuart Copeland, Steve Gadd, the late great Carlos Vega is probably my idol. And then all the great jazz drummers, Tony Williams, Elvin Jones, Art Blakey, those are my guys. I love newer guys like Questlove. I think Questlove is the greatest thing since Stuart Copeland. There's a lot of people out there, Brian Blade, Bill Stewart. There's great music everywhere.
And the beautiful thing about Tony's playing is that you can hear all of these influences in his playing. He has his own voice on the instrument, which you guys will get to hear in a bit. How much playing do you do currently?
A lot. Columbus is a town where it's pretty easy to make a living playing if you are open to doing different stuff. I play at a restaurant in Bexley on Mondays, Giuseppe's, which is a great Italian restaurant. My band Bird Shack, but depending on the week, we might be playing all straight ahead jazz, or even lately playing electronica, you know, on a restaurant gig. And because Columbus is so great, people are open and receptive to it. Playing with Hoodoo Soul on Sunday nights, doing R&B. You know, I'll play with Pop Gun on Friday or Saturday. I play with the truly legendary Tony Monaco right now a lot. Of course, Louis Chamus, another great Columbus drummer, also still plays with Tony. I try to stay as busy as I can, and I would say most weeks of the year I probably am playing 4 or 5 times a week.
Great. Busy guy. Busy guy.
Have to be. Gotta eat.
Cool. All right. Well, let's talk about your drum.
Let's do it.
All right. So this is the Gretsch Broadkaster series.
Yes.
So what sets that apart from their USA Customs?
Well, from the 30s to the 50s, the Broadcasters were Gretsch's high-end drum set with a 3-ply shell, which was, if I have this right, 2 1/8-inch plies of maple on the outsides and a 1/4-inch ply of poplar on the inside. Now, of the older ones that I've played, the one thing they've done different about the shell this time is that now they have the silver sealer on the inside, the aluminum oxide paint, and at least the old Broadcasters I played never had that, but these still sound really similar. They have that wonderful round overbearing edge. I say wonderful. I know a lot of people would look at this edge and think, oh my God, no. But I love it. It's almost completely flat. There's There's a ton of contact between the head and the shell, which makes for a really fat, punchy sound. Super warm sounding drums. As compared to the standard Gretsch diecast hoop, they have the 302 version of the stick chopper hoops. These are a little bit thicker, which is beneficial because not only do they not chop sticks as bad, but they're less likely to bend, and they focus the sound a little.
What is the finish?
It's pretty awesome, isn't it? So this finish is Gretsch Orange Gloss. Of course, not to be confused with their burnt orange gloss, which I also love, which is a wood stain. It's basically just solid orange. And on my kit, I have tangerine sparkle inlays on the bass drum. Of course, you can order Gretsch stuff with any number of custom options. I chose to get my kit with modern spurs and bass drum mount, floor tom legs, and a rims mount. But as you can see on the silver glass glitter kit back there, you can get them with the rail mount, vintage spurs, vintage floor tom legs.
Put all the old stuff on there.
Yes.
Have yourself a brand new old kit.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm somebody who I've bought 90,000 drum sets over the years. I've played everything twice. I feel like this reissue is honestly the best reissue I've seen from a drum company. I really do.
We're going to experiment with couple different tunings with
Yeah.
this kit. Could you talk about how the kit tunes?
Yeah, as is the case with most any drums I buy, I wanted something that was going to be good for my jazz gigs, where if I had to rush off and go to a rock gig or a funk gig, I didn't have to run home and grab other drums or change any heads and be able to get the sound that I wanted. So although my sizes are 14 by 20, 8 by 12, and 14 by 16, the most important thing for me was to have a kit that sonically could do everything I wanted. And I think a lot of people might look at these drums on paper and think, you know, they've got these straight hoops, they've got a flat bearing edge almost, and they probably wouldn't imagine that these drums would be versatile, but they really are. They sound big, fat, and punchy when you tune them low, but when you crank them up, you also hear that classic Gretsch sound.
And for this video, we have paired up the Gretsch Broadkaster kit with some K Special Dry 14-inch hats and a 21-inch ride, and also one of our favorites, the Noble & Cooley Classic Alloy 6x14. So Tony's going to make them sound great. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Tony, for coming in and showing off your new kit. It's always great to hear you play. We love having you here in town. We love having you here at the store.
Honestly, thanks for having me. And, you know, I tell you guys this all the time, but having Columbus Pro Percussion as a resource makes what I do for a living possible. And in the 30 years that I've been shopping here, it hasn't mattered if there's been turnover in personnel, as you'll have in any business. Like, everybody that ends up working here, you know, odds are they're a great person, they're helpful, they know what they're talking about. It's really a great resource for our community, and now with the internet, far beyond our community. So thanks for having me. It's my pleasure.
You're welcome. It's always great to have you around.